morning, everyone. 1 year into the Trump administration, the situation here in America is a complete and total disaster. Donald Trump and Republicans have failed the American people in every possible way. The cost of living is completely and totally out of control. Housing costs out of control. Grocery costs out of control. Electricity bills out of control. Healthcare costs out of control. Child care costs out of control. America is way too expensive, and Donald Trump and the Republican Party has done nothing about it. Under Republican policies, costs haven't gone down in America, costs have gone up, including for reasons that relate directly to Trump's tariffs, which have increased costs by thousands of dollars per year on everyday Americans. We have a broken healthcare system and a Republican healthcare crisis. Republicans have enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics have closed because of toxic Republican policies in the one big ugly bill. And Republicans in the Senate refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which is going to skyrocket health care costs for tens of millions of Americans who will be unable to afford to go see a doctor when they need one. Donald Trump and Republicans promised to cut costs in America. Instead, the Republican Department of Homeland Security is cutting down American lives in cold blood. It's completely and totally unacceptable. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize everyday Americans or kill American citizens. But that's exactly what's happening right now in the United States of America, which is why dramatic change is needed with the Department of Homeland Security before any appropriations bill related to ICE or CBP proceeds. It's the Democratic position because that's the position of the American people. Questions?
Good morning, thank you. Last March, you and Leader Schumer didn't seem to be quite on the same page when there was a question of government funding here. So are you confident that what they're going to do next door is going to reflect what the position is on the House when it comes to this? Are you engaged in what he says if they come up with an agreement with the White House to advance, these spending bills, that's going to be in sync with what House Democrats will want?
First of all, that question is so March of 2025. Like all the things, hold on. You ask the question, I provide the answers. All of the things that have transpired since almost a year ago, including uniform Democratic opposition to the one big ugly bill, because we objected together, House and Senate Democrats, every single one of us, to the fact that Republicans cut more than $1 trillion from Medicaid. They enacted the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history by ripping away food literally from the mouths of children, seniors, and hungry veterans. And they did all of that so they could enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors, and in the same ugly bill, add $191 billion to the Department of Homeland Security, including giving $75 billion to ICE. So this killing machine could be unleashed on the American people. And you're asking me about what happened in March of 2025, when every single House Democrat and every single Senate Democrat stood against that bill. And for 43 days in the fall, during the Trump Republican government shutdown, together we raised the issue of saving the health care of the American people. And everybody knows who won the narrative in connection with the Trump Republican shutdown, because House and Senate Democrats, Leader Schumer, all of us in the House, overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats stood together We're winning election after election after election. Republicans are being crushed. Donald Trump's approval rating is underwater, including as it relates to the economy, healthcare, and immigration. These extremists are completely and totally on the run. So yes, short answer, we are on the same page. Now, with respect to what emerges from the Senate, as is always the case, we will evaluate whatever bill comes over to us on its merits. Thanks. Second row.
You've said that you are going to commence impeachment proceedings against Kristi Noem if she's not fired. At what point do you say, okay, she's not being fired, we're commencing these proceedings? And have you had any conversations with Republicans that you think will rally with that effort?
I have not specifically spoken to any Republican other than Speaker Mike Johnson as it relates to the appropriations bill. I did reiterate in my conversation with Speaker Johnson that we intend to proceed with impeachment proceedings if Kristi Noem is not fired. Kristi Noem is a complete and total embarrassment. She's a disgrace. And on top of all of that, she's presided over the cold-blooded killings of American citizens like Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. Unacceptable. She should have never been confirmed. Shame on every Republican in the Senate who put this wildly unqualified person into a position of significance in the Department of Homeland Security so she could unleash brutalization on everyday Americans, American citizens, and law-abiding immigrant families. It's disgraceful. She's got to go. We are dead serious. She needs to be put on ICE permanently. She's got to go. And by the way, she's not the only one. Stephen Miller is the architect of Donald Trump's toxic immigration policies. He's a stone-cold liar. He's a bigot. He's a hateful individual. He's a malignant, unelected interloper. He needs to go as well. Why does Donald Trump, if he truly is trying to change direction, have these people around? So when we evaluate the administration's intentions, we're not interested in a change in tone. We're interested in a change in behavior on the ground in American communities across the country and as it relates to the people who are around Donald Trump. Thanks. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. How recent was your conversation with the speaker?
Yesterday.
Okay. This weekend there'll be a special election in Texas where Houston voters will seek to, replace, fill the seat that Sylvester Turner vacated when he passed away last week. It's going to tighten the margin in the House even more. Just want to get your thoughts on the election. Do you have any relationships with the two candidates? What are your thoughts about the House returning next week with one more Democrat that will, again, kind of tighten the margins even more, make it even harder for the speaker to, govern and enact his agenda?
Well, the people of the 18th Congressional District, it's the 18th, right?
Yeah.
People of the, just making sure you're paying attention to me. The people of the 18th Congressional District will decide who represents them in Congress. It's a legendary district. I mean, one of the most legendary congressional districts in the history of this country. It sent to Congress Barbara Jordan. Sent to Congress Mickey Leland. It sent to Congress Sheila Jackson Lee. It's a legendary congressional district. So we're excited to see what comes next. And of course, that person stands on the shoulders of all of those giants. And though he was only with us for a few months, the great Sylvester Turner.
What about the margins?
Thanks. Well, with respect to the margins, this is another reason why, as we have continued to say, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, all of us, that when it comes to these appropriations bills or any legislative item before the American people, We're just not down with the my way or the highway approach. It's not going to lead anywhere other than crashing and burning legislation or the appropriations process. The extremists in the Republican Party spent the better part of last year trying to fool the American people as if there was some big, beautiful mandate. And because they apparently convinced themselves, though not the American people, they've engaged in things that have worsened their position, not made life better for the American people. And if they continue down that destructive path, only a few things are going to come out of it. One, Republicans may shut the government down again, at least in part. Two, they will continue to fail to deliver on their promise to lower the high cost of living. And three, which we know to be the case, they are heading toward defeat on November 3rd, when Democrats will take back control of the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Leader.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about these negotiations that are ongoing in the Senate about potentially separating out a DHS-CR. I was just wondering how you're feeling about those conversations, whether you think Democrats would vote for a DHS-CR with changes, and also are you involved in these discussions at all?
I've had conversations with Leader Schumer and Mike Johnson. I have had no conversation with the White House. But the White House understands that the only group of people that speak for House Democrats are House Democrats. So we'll evaluate whatever comes out of the Senate. We support the position that the 5 bipartisan bills that had strong bipartisan support in the House should be voted on, sent to the President, and signed into law promptly. The failure to do so will simply be another indication that Republicans, once again, want to shut the government down in order to try to jam their extreme right-wing policies down the throats of the American people. We know where that winds up, nowhere. And at the end of the day, many Republicans, just like it was the case related to extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which happened in the House of Representatives, despite months of them saying, my way or the highway, the same outcome is going to result this time around, because the American people know that dramatic, bold, transformative changes to the way in which the Department of Homeland Security conducts itself need to happen, and it needs to happen now. Not weeks from now, not months, not next year, not when Donald Trump finally leaves the Oval Office. It needs to happen now. So we'll evaluate whatever is sent to us, and if we're on a path toward dramatic, immediate, transformative change, then I'm sure that will be a part of what heavily, weighs into our discussion.
Mr. Leader, thank you. We've been asking about this, but as a follow-up, you did say that you're on the same page with Leader Schumer. He enunciated 3 particular demands that Democrats have. Yesterday, one dealing with warrants and making sure there are warrants, no roving raids, as he said. Second, dealing with enforcing code of conduct, and the third, dealing with no masks and other, making sure there was IDs for ICE and CBP. Are those your same 3 demands?
Those are 3 broad categories as I have assessed them. There are specific areas within each of those categories that we'll need to drill down on, but from the standpoint of accountability, for instance, it is our position that there need to be independent investigations whenever DHS agents violate the law, and those investigations cannot be conducted independently by the Department of Justice or by anyone closely associated with the Trump administration. They have no credibility to investigate anything. These extremists lied after 2 Americans were killed in cold blood, called them domestic terrorists. Stephen Miller said that Alex Preddy was a would-be assassin. Even the NRA is up in arms as it relates to the malignant lies being told by this administration. So from an accountability standpoint, if someone breaks the law, this is a pretty simple, non-controversial American principle. They should be investigated and prosecuted criminally. The administration is incapable of doing that. And so, state and local law enforcement should explicitly have the authority to investigate crimes that are committed by DHS agents in their state and local jurisdictions. We also are strongly of the view that masks are completely and totally unacceptable. It's incredible to me that Republicans passed legislation, their signature bill, the thing that they're proudest of, the one big ugly bill, largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripped food out of the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And why did they do that? In part, so they can give ICE more money than they've ever been given before and unleash thousands of masked agents who are brutalizing and killing American citizens. This is the Republican priority. It's unbelievable. And so there's a clear contrast between who they are, what they represent, who we are, what we represent. And part of the problem with the masks is that it connects directly to the lack of accountability. And if you have these masked individuals engaging in thuggery directed at law-abiding immigrant families and American citizens, it reinforces for them that they can behave with impunity. They were directed apparently to do this by Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller. So that clearly has to change. And when it comes to American citizens, like, we should have an explicit prohibition that DHS cannot detain or deport American citizens, period, full stop. The American people support it. The American people also support enforcement of the Fourth Amendment. These extremists seem to believe that the Fourth Amendment prohibition on unreasonable searches and seizures, they should read it. They claim to be fans of the Constitution. These extremists seem to believe that the Fourth Amendment does not apply to DHS enforcement activity. They've lost their minds, and the American people know it. And so we believe that a judicial warrant should be required in all circumstances related to DHS and ICE activity before they can break into homes or rip people from their cars, break glass. The American people reject it. It's out of control. It's one of the reasons why ICE is deeply unpopular right now, and they will remain so. So yes, we need judicial warrants as well. And all of those items we interpret as within the broad categories that Leader Schumer has set forth.
Would you like the ban on deportation of American citizens as part of this?
I think that, I mean, in what country are we living in if it's controversial to prohibit a ban on American citizens? That shouldn't even be a discussion.
Is that a yes?
Of course it's a yes. In what country are we living in where ICE and DHS have free reign to detain and deport American citizens? That's inconsistent with the Constitution. And so, if the extremists don't get it, it should be made explicit. Thanks.
Bovino has left Minnesota. Noem is scaling back operations in Maine. Tom Homan is taking a more active role. Tom Homan was appointed by Obama. Do you see this as an improvement to the situation?
Not necessarily. Remains to be seen. Thanks.
When you talk to the Speaker, have you gotten any kind of assurances that he will seat whoever the winner of the Texas special election is in a timely manner to avoid a repeat of what happened with Adelita Grijalva?
I think that point has been made explicitly clear to Speaker Johnson and to Republicans that we can never have another Adelita Grijalva situation again, beginning with the victor of the special election connected to Texas's 18th congressional district. Thanks.
Sir, there is consensus among your party that a CR would allow ICE to continue operating the way that it's been operating. I wonder whether you share those concerns and how you plan to address them if that is the path that Senate Democrats take.
We haven't evaluated any agreement that comes together because there's no agreement that has come together yet. But dramatic changes need to occur as it relates to the way in which DHS agents generally and ICE specifically have been conducting themselves. Taxpayer dollars should not be used to brutalize American citizens, to kill the American people, or to violently target law-abiding immigrant families. And so any agreement that comes together in the Senate will have to evaluate in its totality, including as it relates to if there is to be a continuing resolution, it cannot be endless and it cannot be long. And that's the most that I'll say about it right now. Thanks.
Are you planning to co-sponsor Robin Kelly's articles of impeachment against Kristi Noem?
I think we House Democratic leaders have made clear our position. The statement speaks for itself. If Kristi Noem is not fired immediately, impeachment proceedings will commence. Jamie Raskin, who was the lead impeachment manager during Trump's second impeachment and forcefully and actively participated during the first impeachment, issued a statement where he made clear how he thought things should proceed in reference to this current version of the Kelly resolution as a foundation for the investigative work that needs to take place to ensure that we are presenting the strongest possible articles of impeachment of Kristi Noem before the House of Representatives. We don't want a show vote. We want a successful vote. In the same way that we've had with respect to the release of the Epstein files, in the same way that House Democrats secured as it related to overturning Trump's toxic executive order that ripped away collective bargaining rights for more than 1 million hardworking federal employees, where 20 Republicans joined us. And we want a successful vote in the same way that 17 Republicans joined all 213 Democrats, despite all the cynicism and skepticism coming out of this town that House Democrats were overreaching in our demand that we're going to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and we're going to do it on our terms. So we know how to move Republicans over to our position. Why? Because we're on the side of the American people. And when it comes to the possible impeachment related to Kristi Noem, it's our intention to do the same thing. Thank you, everyone.